Is Donald Trump the Antichrist or the man of sin? Antichrist means in place of Christ, or a substitute for Christ. That is the primary meaning of the term Antichrist, as understood by the Apostle John, who used the phrase 4 times in his epistles. Nowhere else does the term appear in the Bible. John, as all first-century Christians and those after him, understood the term Antichrist to mean a substitute for Christ. Thus, when biblically illiterate pastors pin the Antichrist tale on Donald Trump, they demonstrate their lack of biblical knowledge. In no way is Donald Trump a substitute for Christ. He claims no titles or functions that belong to Christ. Yet misguided and ill-motivated pastors insist on pinning the Antichrist tale on every president that sits in the White House. These same pastors once declared President Barack Obama the Antichrist. But obviously they were wrong about that, so they moved on to Donald Trump. And when Donald Trump is no longer president, they will insist that whoever takes his place is the Antichrist, and this absurd game will continue. I've even heard pastors quote from 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 saying that Donald Trump is the man of sin or the son of perdition. How can this be when the chapter states plainly that this individual sits in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God? Has Donald Trump done this? No, he has not done this either spiritually or physically. For 1800 years, the Church identified Antichrist as the person and system that would emerge from the Roman Empire, just as Scripture declares. There is only one candidate for this diabolical office, and that is the Holy Roman Empire and its popes that replaced Caesarean Rome. There is no other candidate. The early church understood this, and the Protestant reformers went to their deaths holding this belief. So if your pastor is playing pin the Antichrist tale on Donald Trump, you need to find another church. Any pastor who does this is in the service of Rome, whether he knows it or not. He is protecting the Antichrist and deceiving you into thinking Antichrist has not yet been revealed. Make no mistake about it, only the popes of Rome have claimed to be the substitute for Christ, thereby taking on all the titles of Christ and God. They alone have fulfilled all the prophecies of the term Antichrist, substitute for Christ. There is no other candidate, and Papal Rome is the only political system that replaced pagan Rome. Thus, both spiritually and temporally, the popes and the Vatican have fulfilled all prophecies of Antichrist. And they continue to this very day to hold that position of political and spiritual preeminence worldwide. And Donald Trump, as have all U.S. presidents, declared this when he went to Rome in submission to the Pope. By his actions, he declared the Pope the highest political and spiritual authority on earth. Think about it. The Pope does not seek audience with leaders of nations. Rather, they seek audience with him. If you believe there is no significance to this, you need to study history and political protocols. The lesser always submits to the greater, not the other way around. Think about this. What U.S. president has ever addressed the Pope's College of Cardinals, the Vatican's political and administrative arm? None have ever been permitted to officially address this powerful cabal of the servants of Antichrist. Yet the Pope, in defiance of the U.S. Constitution, has addressed the United States Congress, the American administrative equivalent to the Papal College of Cardinals. Why is this? It is because the Vatican is the greater power, despite appearances. The Pope has power over the U.S. Congress, while the President of the USA has no power or authority over the Vatican's highest collective administrative authority, the College of Cardinals. So wake up, people, and stop listening to Jesuit futurist pastors teaching doctrines that protect the true Antichrist. Let no man deceive you by any means, and do not fall under the strong delusion that Antichrist is yet to be revealed. Know that the church for most of its history has known who the Antichrist and his dynasty are, and they paid with their lives for declaring this truth. Trust no pastor or Bible teacher who promotes the end-time game of pin the tail on Antichrist. Donald Trump is not the Antichrist. That office has been fully occupied for nearly 2,000 years and continues to this very day in the form of the popes of Rome and the Vatican. Both history and scripture prove it. If you want irrefutable proof, read my book titled Antichrist, The Smoke of Rome. Or look through the 140 or so YouTube videos I've made, many of which address this topic. Also, you can subscribe to my Patreon channel at www.patreon.com/ReginaldJacobBlock, where you will find extended lessons on this topic and others.